Hey, Chessa. What's up, Erica? Treasure, Linnell. Waiting for Deja to join us. How's everybody doing today?
Only 6 a.m. and my hands already tied. Got a pretty little thing. She
Thumbs up if you can hear me. If you can hear me, give me thumbs up, please.
Oh, okay. All right.
What's up?
I'm great. I feel a moment of nervousness and I'm like, chill, you were just doing this. Like you were just on the phone. I'm like,
That's
yeah, same thing.
it's, yeah, I was getting that too. I'm like, okay, is the background cool? Is everything? And I'm like, for real? We just talking. Mm-hmm. You look great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like, oh, I don't have any lip gloss around me. That's fine. That's fine. We're here. We're talking. We're living.
Here.
Mhm.
Right. How's your day going?
Whew. Well, it's Friday, is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
What are days? Who knows days? Fridays used to be a day of celebration. I mean, they still are. But my day is asking a lot of me in a time when I don't want anyone to ask anything of me. And I'm like, I don't have the answers, fam.
Right.
And my day's like, well, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, shit. Okay, well, I guess I'll do what I do, you do what you do, and we'll see.
Definitely.
We'll see what we see. We'll see
Mhm.
what we get. Yeah. How's your day?
I'd say it's kind of similar. It's sort of like I'm doing this project that's about Black joy and joy, and I've been trying to be in that space and put myself in that space, but like we were talking earlier, I haven't felt it, and sometimes it's too heavy of a lift to even get there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm working toward okay, and then when I get there, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, killing it, and then I'm doing what's going on. They're like, damn, you all right? You going? I'm like, nope, but I'm okay. Like all that, and I'm okay though.
I was just talking to my god sister earlier, and and she was like, we did a thing where like we just pick up FaceTime and we just look at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you know what? I know when we do that, we good. And I was like, and she's like, no, I'm not saying we're both individually good. We're good between us. And I
Right.
was like, no, but I'm good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm crying right now, but I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really, it both tickled me and warmed my heart. And also, it just really, it just typified the whole thing, I'm gonna just dive in. I'm gonna just go. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. So great.
We are how it was
Thinking about cultivating joy and sustaining joy and sustaining happiness. So many amazing, amazing Black queer women, Black queer writers and authors, Black queer trans people have taught me about the usefulness and the practice of joy,
going.
of happiness. One of one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou is I can't remember it word for word, but she describes basically that she cares about humility and not modesty. And she said something to the effect of, because modesty will fall off faster than a G-string off a stripper when you tip her or something like that. Or it was very specific and very graphic. And I love it because it was like faster than the G-string off a stripper's ass crack when you tip her or something.
Right, right.
And she was referring to her own history and her own work with sex work. And I was just like, fuck it up, bring it home, Maya. And I think about the modesty. Me, you know, as iPhones do, mine just let me know, hey, we're dying. And I'm like, oh, that's cute for you. But that's why we have chargers. The modesty bit always reminds me also of happiness, and that happy is not sustainable. Like, happy is not infinite. It's not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be trying for it. That's not what it's there for. That's not what gift it has for us. And then I think about, you know, not self-care, because, but, you know, as all words do under white supremacy, but radical self-care. I think about the uses of the erotic. I think of Audrey talking to us about it is resistance for me to prioritize myself, my care, my body, my joy as a practice, not because society has given me a right to do so, not because I've amassed enough wealth or access or power that I can like choose to move however I move and I don't have to care about or regard how it affects other people. But like, this is a commitment, this is a dedication, this is a practice. And not even part of that, that means it's rooted in principle. That means it's rooted in me doing the things that I do, excuse me, not inspired by only a reaction to something else or something superficial. It means that if I'm dedicated to fierce Black joy, it's going to be fierce, it's going to be Black, and that joy has to look like more than my smiley face or your smiley face.
Ooh.
Or,
yeah,
because, like, you know, it's you know, it's all those things that we got to hold both of, you know. Yes, fierce Black joy and naming joy, trying to cultivate joy ever as a Black person. And then in 2020,
yeah. It's something like when somebody's like, well, you got to find a joy in it. I feel attacked by that. Like, don't even tell me to find, because then that tells me that yours is like you have found some grabbable joy, and you're telling me like search for it. I know things are shitty, but like dig down deep if you can. And like, yeah, I definitely feel that it's more than a smile on your face, and something that I had gotten really good at doing, and I am trying to, like, you know, break that in myself, is like, just I can just smile good, right? I'll smile good, and that's okay. Because while I'm doing this, because I know it makes the person feel better, I'm in myself feeling like this is a whole lot of work. This is a whole lot of work. So trying to trust myself and also trust the folks that I feel safe with enough to be like, all right, I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. I'm feeling something, and it ain't joy. And let's talk about it. And I'm a talker. My friends always say like, you be try like you put it down, Misha. But like, and I'm like, but wait, but like, what if I didn't feel that way? Let's hold it. And they'd be like, no, but it's fine. Leave it alone. It's um. So
I see you.
still seen.
Oh my God. Because, woo, a talker. Yes. We're tribe. We're kin.
Mm-hmm.
We're kin.
Now I do have some questions for you, because that,
Please do. You know, I'm here. I'm here. The Deja, she speaks. I'm here to speak.
and I'm listening. I told them, I let them know. I said when the Deja speaks, you better listen. Um,
Oh my God, yo.
Tell
That
me
was,
what you thought about that.
oh wow. Yeah. Anyway, I'm tearing up now as I was then, and I will be. I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet. And then your voice is so smooth. And I was just like, when Deja speaks, listen. And I was like, that's right. Okay. Anyway, I was just like I heard it, and it really fed me. I was like, you know what? Misha don't know it, but Misha gonna record my little tagline for my intro one day. It's just something.
I got you.
Go off.
I'll I'll turn the voice on and I'll talk to the people. Okay, all right, let me get to the
This is
question.
not that kind of podcast. You said you had questions. I was gonna go find a Q-tip. All things are lovely.
Listen, if it brings you joy, it brings you joy. Okay, let's go. Here we go. What pulls you? Because I don't know if they know. I want to let the folks know who are watching, like, what you're a storyteller amongst so many things. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because that's what I'm drawn to you because of that. Um, so tell me what pulls you into storytelling, what stories draw you in, all of that. Give it to me.
Mm, mm. Okay. I was like, what kind of answer am I feeling right now? Am I feeling real poetic? Am I feeling autobiographical? Am I feeling nationalist? Do
Ooh,
I want to be like, well,
we'll take it
I
all.
was born in this island of Haiti, and
Mm-hmm.
my people, we are a storied people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely part of it. That's definitely a big, big part of it. I feel like some of the best parts of growing up, not just outside of this country, but like growing up with a lens and focus that was definitely censored in America,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of America. Stories and riddles and the way we used words and the ways we were dramatic in doing simple shit.
Mm-hmm.
Not boulette. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to scream.
Come
Hey,
on.
sorry y'all.
Yes, yes,
I had
yes.
a moment. I saw the comment and it just
Come
came
on.
out of me. um. But yeah, but like my people in terms of like myself and like my literal family, and also my people and like the grand scope of like Haitian people and Caribbean people and African people, like we are just so emotive, so creative, so just like everything we do and say can hold so much. And so that's what I love. That's what I was drawn to. That's what has always just been a part of me. Um, and paired with that, I'm now as an adult, I look back and I realize, um, how do as an adult, I look back on myself, my childhood, and my like how I made sense of the world. And I realized that there's a lot of things I did and a lot of ways I processed things that weren't necessarily allistic or allistic, as opposed to autistic. I I definitely share a lot of similarities and a lot of like visceral experiences and a lot of the internal processing with people who are on the autism spectrum. And I named that because the way I make sense of the world was also what led me to stories, because stories made sense to me and helped me to. It was like there was a missing piece between what I was seeing or what I would put out or say or do with other people and how other people would receive it. And stories would be that missing element that would give me like, this is the whole context. These are all the other things happening outside of yourself and outside of how you're perceiving either this person or this interaction or this kind of relationship, so that it can be not just, I want to use the word useful, but useful, and I really mean useful like effective, so that you can actually communicate, so you can actually participate, so that you feel like you're a part of your family, so that you feel you're a part of your community, so that you feel like you have like ownership and a place as in terms of identity, in terms of legacy, in terms of being rooted. So two things. One, Haiti. That's why I love stories, because we're storytellers. Two, my own mind and how I make sense of myself and how I make sense of other people in the world at large. And then thirdly, you know, as with every artist and every creative and every person out there, because we all are definitely practicing different kinds of art. There's some trauma in there. There's some pain. There's definitely lots of escapism, and escapism, both in the way that people usually use it, which is, to my mind, pretty ableist and pathologizing of like escapism. You're trying to get out when you shouldn't be. Right. Because staying in suffering is somehow valuable and noble on its own, but not the point. Point is, and also escapism in the sense that what I was used to and what I used to like root myself in my identity and how I communicate with other people and how I formed relationships was changed very dramatically several times when I was growing up and as an adult, but especially when I was very young. I moved countries. Even when I was in the same countries, I moved between different cultures, between different schools, different languages, different education systems. Like my whole world would just change over time. Or rather, I said over time, I mean overnight. It'd be like, like it wasn't like things were always sudden and like really dramatic in that sense. Because sometimes I'd know months ahead of time. My parents would let me know, hey, we're moving, we're going to be doing this, or so-and-so is going to come stay with us, or we're going to go stay with so-and-so. But it definitely left me so often like, nothing is the same. I can't, like, I don't know what's up. I don't know what store to go to. I don't know who to call or where to go if I need anything. But you know what's always the same? A fucking library. Okay. A good librarian who's going to let me hide from the bullies. Mm-hmm. What stayed the same is, I'm not going to name what books I was reading because certain authors won't let go of their transphobia and transmisogyny. But that's neither here nor there. But I read all kinds of fantasy and fiction books, which, again, as an adult, I look back and I'm like, girl, of course you were. You were looking for folk tales. You were looking for folklore. You were looking for the things you grew up on, the things that fed you, the things that felt like home. And the great stuff. Spent lots of times in libraries, and books translate between languages and have rules, and stories really, really, really kept me here. Like, kept me here. Baltimore. Yeah, we got to share these comments, y'all, by the way. Thank you, everyone who said great things and shared all the love. Y'all are great.
Please keep them coming, too. And there's also the question function in there, so if y'all have questions, please feel free to put them in.
Yes, please drop them in, because Lord knows I talk. And I like to.
Yeah, the library that's real. That's so real. I definitely relate to that being like a safe space, being somewhere that like my aunt thought was like, hey, that's a good place for her to go. And I'm like reading all type of books. Like back in the day, I'm in like, 5th grade reading Elin Harris and okay, Elin Harris touched my soul. I said, I don't know how, but yes, I relate, I connect. Yeah.
You know, this is such a mishmash of cultural references. I remember.
You're like that too, though.
I remember. I thought Tyler Perry was going to be Elin Harris, but like for movies and TV.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it wasn't even. Tyler never told me he was going to be Elin Harris for movies and TV.
So
I was just like, duh. This is going to be great. We're good. And then it was like a complete opposite. And I was like, oh. But anyway, go ahead. Yes, Elin Harris. Yes, reading Some Coldest Winter Ever when you were in the 3rd grade for nobody's business.
But I was at the library, so it's okay. Swinging my little legs, just like, ooh. We do have a question. We got a question for you about Your book choice. Let me get to it. What are some of your favorite childhood books, Deja?
Ooh. Mm. How much time we got, y'all? Let's go. Okay. Ooh, I feel so bad. Okay, no, I don't feel so bad. It's by a white woman who is totally appropriating and stealing a story. But still, um, I I do feel bad though because this is not going to be informative and helpful. So I'll mention it. There's a story that every few years I think about it. I go scouring Google and the internet. I finally find it after searching through the internet for like 3 weeks. And the key points I remember is that it was one of the first books I read where the child, the main character, was from Haiti, immigrated to the States, and immigrated to come stay with family. And then there was this whole element about like, oh, she had been raised to be a priestess, and the Dahomey tribe that like had kept its lineage in Haiti or whatever. It was very Storm from X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
If like Storm wasn't being used to be like the token black woman on a white institution and organization. That's basically the cops. But you know, that's neither here nor there. We can talk about X-Men another day. um, but I just loved it. It was great. That's not helpful though because there aren't names. Other stories that I loved as a child. I'm gonna give you guys authors because I've each of these authors I've read literally anything they ever put out. All the little white fantasy authors got a lot of my time and money. Garth Nix has the Abhorsen trilogy, which I love. Tamora Pierce has this set of novels that I actually use
Mm-hmm.
pretty heavily in my like genuine real life, like spiritual ancestral practices. Um, and it's these four kids who become like blood brothers and sisters or whatever because they have a kind of magic that other people don't recognize, and they just go around like breaking the world in half because fuck it, adults are mean and cruel and terrible and they deserve what they get.
Right.
So I love that. What else did I read as a child? Why am I blinking? Harry Potter, but you don't even need to read Harry Potter. And honestly, yes, because fuck J.K. Rowling, but also, even if you weren't, you don't even need to read Harry Potter. What I want you to know is there's a website called fanfiction.net, okay? Y'all,
I have gotten my life on some fanfics.
I've read more fanfiction in this world than, like, I don't even know. Like,
You're gonna have to send me some recommendations after this.
babe, where do you want to start? Because I got you. That's what I read as a child. I read a whole bunch of, like, books from the library, but really, I discovered fanfic, and it was just the answer to everything I had been needing because, again, I was looking for home. I was looking for folklore and folk tales. I was looking for representation. I was always reading stories that are coming of age
Mm-hmm.
that are usually, and because coming of age, they're usually tweens and like 12 to 13, but sometimes often quite older. Um, oh, Diane Duane has a series called So You Want to Be a Wizard, which also, again, from a white woman's lens, but like genuinely good underlying practice and ethics about magic and power and how you relate to the world and what it means, not just what it means to be magical, but like that again, this shit is not about having a mystical replacement for a gun and being a police officer. It's really about how you live, the impact on other people, the impact on the environment, and that power is not something individual that you have to create for yourself and then bludgeon other people with, but it's about having a community and a relationship. So I love it. Thank you for everyone who's putting fanfic links in because yes, archive of our own is my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. I ended up reading a whole bunch of Glee fan fiction, which I'm not recommending to anyone. But if you're already into that, get at me because I got racks. I also fell into a soap opera fan fiction hole once upon a time, and I'm still kind of in there every few weeks. But and I don't even remember the question. What was the thing? Where was I going?
Well, we started. I mean, you were given it's answered.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. Okay, I do want to. I want to hear about I want to hear about how, because I know you do a lot. You do a lot for other folks. You do a lot, and giving a lot of people joy. And I want you to talk about that because, um, I want folks to know. I want people to know what you do. You do it all.
Um, so for me, yeah. We're here. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one for 10 years ago. Ooh, it's almost painful how much 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I was not this person.
Mm-hmm.
I spent so much of my life in the dark. I spent so much, I spent like the first like 15 years of my life never going anywhere that wasn't to a relative's house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I, like my life was just very small on it, like interior. I'm perhaps a little bit known on the internet for not having a lot of patience for people with Oreo tears. Like, oh, Black kids didn't like me. They called me an Oreo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm known for that because I am that child that was crying all the time that other kids didn't like me. And it's like, okay, yeah, they did. But like, how did other children feel about you? Because you don't seem to have anyway, not the point. We're not talking about that. We're
Right.
talking about my life was quite small, and it was very I don't want to say it was very dark, but it was, and it doesn't mean that like it was horrible or nothing. No one brought any joy or sunshine. And internally, in terms of how I express myself and what I like, how I engage with other people, I didn't have friends growing up. And my life just wasn't very vibrant. There was so much about me that was being policed and corrected all the time because I have always been exactly who I am now, but it was a liability when I was coming up. My position in society, my family's position in society, was just always precarious enough that it didn't feel like, okay, well, now I'm being a little too gracious. I was gonna say it didn't feel like I could. It wasn't like I didn't feel like I could. I wasn't allowed to.
Right.
Because there's also some abuse in there and some hardship and trials and all that good stuff. Anyway, all that to say, I've always been a very vibrant, expressive, emotive, colorful, like large personality.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been very fat since I was very, very, very young. And I've also been very, very dark since I was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And those things don't combine for a fun time for anyone. And when I got to the end of high school, I really started to struggle in life. I really it was like several years of identity crises. And I just was not able to get off the ground and like start this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after that was after I'd spent my entire K through 12 career being like overachiever and going to the top. And you know, before Barack, it was like everyone's thing was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be the next MLK. And then Barack did the thing. And then it was, oh, you're gonna be like so on and so forth.
I'm dead.
That's a little anecdote that I have for my life that I always I hold real close. And I chuckle at so much because I'm like, one, you ain't shit, nigga. And there really was a time pre him. There was a time pre him when like the closest reference we had was like 1964. And you would think post 2008, you would feel and have seen other things, but anyway, again, other topics for other times about my joy and about me bringing joy and sharing joy with other people. Because I wasn't allowed to be, because it was drilled into me that being who I am is a liability, being who I am is a threat, being who I am deserves punishment, deserves assault, deserves to, like, whatever happens,
Mm-hmm.
I should have just been quieter. I should have been firmer and stronger. And so when it came to post 2010 and me finally realizing, yo, some of the things that are going wrong are not going wrong because you don't have what other people have. It's because it's going to mean cutting some things off. It's going to mean letting some things go. It's going to mean walking away. And I think of a time when I was like in, I don't know, high school or middle school. My sister and I have an older sister. Her name's Jael. I love her dearly. She is the light of my life, you know, the other half of my soul and all that good stuff. Um, we've been separated for years because like she went off to school. She was living in other places. I was living in other places and growing up. And we came back under the same roof. And she was in college and I was in like high school or middle school or something. And we started a practice of saying I love you to each other because we'd grown up in a household where that just wasn't done. Like the ways we shared affection were just not westernized and American in that way of like, oh, here's your, I don't know, your brown paper bag, love you. And but we started this thing of saying I love you, and I started a thing of hugging her with her consent and asking ahead of time because she was not comfortable being touched and embraced and whatever. And I was like, you're ridiculous. This is stupid. Why are you acting like that? And then I got a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and I was like, Black people, especially people raised and born as Black women, might have lots of reason for not wanting people to hold them and tie them and wrap them up. And I was like, noted. But we started these two things. We would say, I love you. And we just literally started just saying the words to each other. It was weird. It felt awkward. We weren't used to it. We didn't even used to be that affectionate with each other. But we were just like really, really, really close. And we were living under the same roof again with our parents and just having lots of experiences that felt like 1992 to 1998 again, even though it was in the 2000s. And it was like, you know, we need something different. Non sequitur, but my dad had also gone through like what I call his little Huxtable phase, where I don't know, periodically I feel like Black men have a moment where they're like, oh, I can like recoup all the neglect I've poured into my family. I can rebuild all the relationships that have wilted and withered. I'm just gonna like show up now and we'll all be great. And it was like,
a little too
that's
late.
not how this works.
Right.
Whatever. But we kept having these family meetings that just devolved into everyone blaming each other for hurting each other, and it wasn't going nowhere. But one thing we both walked away from it was deciding we're going to add some new things to the mix, like saying I love you and sharing affection with each other. And I went from never having said or heard the word love expressed to me to it being like a constant all day, every day. And that shit changed me. And it was also part of me learning, which is what I practice now. Joy is infinite. Love is infinite. It's not a finite resource, which is not to say we are not finite, which is not to say that anyone who wants joy or cultivates joy should just be pulled from endlessly. But it is to say that I learned my life was not hard. People were not cruel to me or mean to me because there was not joy to be had or because I didn't deserve joy. People treated me as people treated me. They treated me according to their potential, to their possibility, to whatever they had decided or figured out for themselves. That's on them. That's not on, there's no love for me. That's not on, I can't be happy. That's not on, no one will care for me. And also, I've mentioned, you know, childhood was okay. I don't even want to use the phrase childhood was rough because I'm like, okay, and nigga, and also I'm an Aquarius. I always want to feel like a special snowflake. I don't want to be predictable.
I'm an Aquarius too. Just saying.
And
I'm just
I'm
now
not doing
finding
that
out
for
about it, so I don't give me too much because I don't really know.
I'm
But
not doing this for you. I'm not doing this for you. Anyway, childhood was rough, and I mentioned that there was abuse. And the other part of me being as giving and joyful as I am, I'm. I was just talking about this with my friend Mace. Um, I'm a manipulative person. I know that about me. I believe that about me, and I come from people who are quite manipulative also. Um, and again, I none of the things I ever say do I say with an intent to pathologize, because it's not, oh, I'm manipulative and so that means I'm a horrible person and I can never do anything genuine or sincere or whatever. No, I'm about like naming the thing when and if we can. And I know I'm a manipulative person. If I'm not getting what I need or what I want, how can I get what I need? How can I get what I want? You know, and emotions are there to finesse and finagle.
mm-hmm.
And I named that because for so long, getting what I needed, getting what I wanted, I didn't know another way forward. I didn't know I didn't know how to get love other than to guilt you into it, or to pretend I felt something I didn't feel in hopes of getting you to give me the response I was looking for, or in hopes that you would like care for me in some way. Um, in another podcast, we can talk about my relationships around mothering and maternal figures, and how many other parents I went looking for in life. Um, but that's not for this one. And it is to say that me recognizing and naming that for myself was crucial and crystal clear, so I could have love, so I could have joy, so I could be kind, so I could be generous. Because I remember, I remember initially, I was like, clearly, all of that is wrong, so I'm just not going to have any of it, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm not even going to try or pretend or whatever.
That's
And you know, it takes some trial and error.
mm-hmm.
If you've never had a friend or been a friend, you don't know how to be a good friend. You don't. You don't. Like, and that's okay. It's gonna take trial and error. You're gonna have to practice, baby. And that means you're gonna mess up sometimes, you know.
You gonna hurt some.
Other people may hurt you. You
Yeah,
not me.
they will.
Other people will hurt and you will hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you'll hurt from your own doing, sometimes you'll hurt from what other people do. Um so yeah, I give a lot of joy. I give a lot of joy, and
In
I
the
give it
word today.
freely because I make myself responsible for where's this coming from? Like, where's the source of this joy? Because if it's not mine, then I can't give it. If it's not mine, I cannot give it. And also, that shit's free. Like, that shit is genuinely free. Because there are other things I can give that cost me.
Mm-hmm.
There's confidences I could just give to anybody and it could cost me. There's trust I can give to people that could really come back and bite me in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not a fighter. Like, that's a whole other thing too. I'm not a fighter. I'm I'm a I have and I've been wounded a lot and I have a lot of wounds. So I'm a very like cut. Like, that's it. I don't have a, oh, we can banter back and forth and we'll build up to it. No, I
Yes.
go from hurt, scared, trying to run, can't run. Oh, can't run? Somebody has to die. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm also bringing joy wherever I go, because I don't have like a nasty, we'll argue it out kind of thing. You raise your voice, I raise my voice. No, my sense of danger is very sensitive, and that shit is skewed to full on survival. Um, which I'm really also being mindful of my words because I don't want to do that thing where we're all like, oh, but if it came down to it, I'd just kill it, I'd end it, I'd finish it. Nah, life ain't like that. It ain't been like that for me. And I'm very aware that that speaks to an inability to navigate and manage conflict. And that it doesn't just mean, oh, I'm super strong. If anything starts, I'll finish it. No, it means I can't handle conflict. It means that if I'm unhappy or if someone disagrees with me, I don't have another response or another way forward than to treat it like you just attacked me and threatened my life.
Right.
And that's something else I work on. Feeling and expressing things, even when they're not joy, even when they're not happy. Because for the longest, I couldn't feel or express anything. Because the way I was sad was too girly, the way I was happy was too sweet. Or what are all the other euphemisms people use for calling you a faggot growing up? I don't remember. But like, too sassy, too zesty, too whatever.
Everything's
just too much. So I shut down completely. And when I opened back up, I was like, great, I'll open up and I'll manifest brightness and joy and love and light. And I mean, I did it. It was great. It worked for a time.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. And it dropped me and I was a little scratched up. And now I'm at a place where, again, sit with and experience the things you're sitting with and experiencing. They're not by mistake. They're not by accident. It's not a contradiction. It's not a contradiction to need healing and offer healing. It's not a contradiction to miss something or miss someone and hate them. It's also not a contradiction to love someone and hate them. I got a lot in me, got a lot of potential. It's almost as if there's the potential of the entire universe in my little heart. And so yeah, I give joy, I give love. I'm like an effusive and warm person. And that speaks to my own self-worth and growth and how powerful I am. And it speaks to the people who modeled for me, the people who taught me. You know, in your great little voice note about me or whatever, you mentioned me hosting and cooking for people. And that's the kind of shit I've been drawn to since I was a child. That's the kind of shit that I also was like, that's the kind of shit that horrible things were done to me to train me out of and beat me out of, you know? Because I'm too warm, I'm too kind, I'm too giving, I'm too trusting, I'm too naive. And also I'm too much a woman's business. I'm always in the kitchen. I'm always either trying to eat or make some food or give other people food. I'm too generous. I'm too like, all these words, and I'm using them deliberately because, you know, I think of it as the Loretta Devine character, but like, you know, fat black women are supposed to be, you know, Jill Scott, you know, shea butter and warm curves for people to just lay themselves up in and wrap themselves up in. And also never protect and never defend and not actually practice and learn about how do I cultivate that and nurture that in someone. Because, and this is another factor of like my upbringing and my childhood and the impacts, like I learned so much from all the women that I spent my entire childhood and my entire life around. And those women were also such a big factor of correcting my behavior and correcting who I was. And yes, there's transphobia and homophobia and misogyny and internalized shit and externalized shit. And those women, like I said, they modeled it for me. They knew how the world treated them. They knew what the world had for little black girls who grow up wanting to mother other people. They knew that you are a mark, that they knew that anyone and everyone will come along and they'll whisper pretty somethings in your ear and they'll tell you you're divine, you're gorgeous, I will cover you in diamonds. Oh my God, Misha. Oh my God. I'm feeling something real profound right now with this epiphany.
Come on.
Thanks for having me today. Thanks for this.
This is everything to me right now. I'm loving it. So
they knew. I'm gonna separate it from my personal story for a moment.
okay.
Tina Fey, Sandra Fey, Tina Fey, white woman, comedian, 30 Rock. Tina Fey has a book called Bossy Pants, and in Bossy Pants, or was it in Bossy Pants, or was it about it? Either way, she said something to the effect of, oh, I should just look it up because I don't remember the specifics, but something about how either she prays for her teenage daughter or she worries for her daughter, and something about like it's in the predators or the men who might prey on her, and something to the effect of because it's the broken-eyed look. And I don't remember the specifics. That may not be the quote at all, but it's what stuck with me and it's what I cared about because the day I read that, I was like, thank you for naming that. That it's not how beautiful you are. It's not how blonde and blue-eyed and straight your hair lays and how much your body looks like any image or ideal or expectation. It's honestly, truly not even what anyone who would prey on you will say it is or it isn't.
Mm.
She knew, like I knew from experience, like so many of the people who raised me and taught me and also tried their best to safeguard me, even while harming me themselves. Motherfuckers are out here developing a skill for recognizing someone lied to you about your own brilliance. Mm. Someone convinced you your gift was your curse. Someone encouraged you to believe you have something to make up for, you have something to apologize for. Mm. And it's for deeply held things that are true about you, true in you, and true of you. And I know, speaking again as those predators, I know that that gives me an opportunity. Now, I separated from my own personal story because something I haven't yet talked about, but apparently it's the season. A few years ago, I transitioned. I hadn't seen my mother or my father in years because they lived in another country and I was living here, and also our own whatever. My mother came to stay, and she happened to be staying in the same house where I was staying at the time. Mm-hmm. We hadn't seen each other in years. Our dynamic, I sat my mother down one day after spending a few days with her, and I sat down, and I had texted her from work, and I was like, hey, when I get home, can we talk? And she was like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, I just really want to talk to you. I just want to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I sat down, and very me fashion, very Aquarian fashion, I'm like, hey, you don't have a son, you have a daughter. I'm attracted to men romantically, sexually, what have you. And I'm not a part of this family anymore. And that conversation went so many different ways and so many different places that I did not expect. In like, I don't want to say just the best way, because again, I'm working on, I don't need to feel like I need to apologize or edit things so that things sit nicely. And genuinely, me and my mom have been like, I've been right up under her left titty my whole childhood. Mm-hmm. So we know each other very intimately in the best and worst ways. And growing up for a long time, I always said, like, my sister may be my dad, but I'm her. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people know to, like, act right when it comes to her, because she will make it your business if you're not treating her right. Again, in the best ways and
in
in
another.
not so great ways. Um, and I'm very much her child. But anyway, we have this I say these things to her, and she gave me a line which I wasn't expecting, but like all the parents say apparently, the where'd you get this? Who gave this to you? Who said this to you? Who whatever? And I was like, wow, are you really giving me like a It Gets Better Lifetime movie coming out story moment about like, how could this happen? How could this be? I'm
What
like,
is?
I did not expect that. Like,
Mhm.
given who I am and who I've been all my life, and that you've been like literally addressing that I am not like other kids and other people my whole life, I didn't expect you to be like, where did this come from? As if it's new or surprising.
Right.
But the thing that this conversation helped me heal is she shared some words with me that have been like written across my heart ever since. And I remember being like, "Ugh, what? You don't even know the story, and that's why you don't even know me. You're confused." Actually, no, I wasn't like that at all. I was actually very whatever. I was receptive. Point is, she said something to the effect of, "I don't know who he is, and I don't know what he promised you." But don't believe him. I know, I know he said he would cover you in diamonds and told you are beautiful. But don't believe him. You do not choose him, a man, whoever, over your family, no matter what they offered you. And at the time, I was as single could be. My phone was dry.
Mhm.
Um, I was so like new and experimenting, and like there's another part of the story where I did leave that conversation, go put on something, and go on a date. But it wasn't even a date. It was not a date. It was some dude from Grindr. It does not count. That was not romance. That was not, no
But
part of that was any way
right.
I should ever be treated.
Exactly.
And I remember at the time, like, I felt how much she meant it. Even while I was like, girl, like, see, this isn't it, but this is kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're so out of touch. You don't even know that, like, that has nothing to do with me. I
Right.
don't, no one's whispered any sweet nothings in my ear. No one has promised me anything. If anything, they promised me death and horror. And it's still literally the only life for me. And so there's no doubt about it. But, but I'm reminded of those words now because, again, someone said that in the comments, like, these are all your superpowers. And I was like, absolutely. These are my gifts. These are my blessings. And they are like fiercely one,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be protected. I have to be protected in sharing and expressing and wielding them. Because again, lots of pain, lots of trauma, lots of projected, internalized, externalized things. And those women who I remember so fondly were not done well by in life. It wasn't a legacy of, we're pillars of the community. We're the house everyone can come to and eat or take a rest or have a nap and so on and so forth. No, it was the legacy of, if he's hurting you, you can come to me,
Mm-hmm.
because not just I know what that's like, I know what it means that leaving isn't an option or isn't one you'll consider. If you're carrying a pain that you can't name elsewhere, you can come and just be, because I have pains of my own I'm not going to name or share with you. And those women saw themselves in me, and they saw me for me, and in varying ways of, sometimes good and sometimes bad. They responded to her the best that they could, and I'm doing my best. which isn't even always something I'm committed to. Also, I'm not committed to being my best at all times. And some things about me are just things about me. I have a great smile. I laugh real loud, and I laugh with my whole body. I talk with my body. Again, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Haitian. Welcome. and and I can really cook when I'm in a good place, and I'm thinking about cultivating home and the experience that I want people to have with me and apart from me. Um, those things are just true. They're me, and yeah, they're worth protecting. And also, I'm glad I had examples to show me like other people may not care beyond what they can get from you and what they want from you, and preserve this shit for yourself. 3 hours later.
You are so, I appreciate just how generous in storytelling you are. I thank you for that. And the folks in the comments are you turned up today. You brought a word. You in here, Deja. I mean, I knew when we were talking on the phone. I'm like, we should be going live right now. Just because of the nature in which you share things and how you talk about the way you impact it and the way that you choose to impact others, because it is something to have to fight for joy and then not turn to the folks around you and then make them do the same, like make it hard for them to find joy for themselves. And I find I'm fighting that within myself too, so it's a word, and I'm loving it. I'm held in space right now. I want to go up and see if you missed any questions here from anybody.
While you do that, I want to share with everyone that one, Misha's great. Misha's phenomenal. Two, check out your music players, because there's a song called Change Your Life Up by Misha that you need in your life. Okay?
You heard it.
Listen to it when you grooving and you feeling like, ooh, boo, I need to get me a little boo. I'm gonna send this to my little boo thing. If you got a boo thing, send it. If you ain't got it, add it to your little manifesting your boo thing playlist. And I mentioned that Misha's great because I would be this transparent and forthcoming in general talking to Misha, and I had the pleasure of listening to Misha's episode of She Is Fierce. She Is Fierce Stories on I think I listened on Spotify, but I am certainly walking in your footsteps. I am following, and I am a part of a legacy in like extending a door that you opened. And it wasn't something that I thought about or planned consciously, but definitely it was hearing that episode that convinced me I wanted to be a part of this week. It was hearing the episode that convinced me that I'm excited for this conversation, that I want to share this conversation, and that that like has me like, yo, like be real with yourself, be real with the person who you're speaking to, and again, think about the person who needs to hear someone talk about their mother, their grandmother, their aunt in this way, their father, their life experiences. Think about what it means for little Black, queer, and trans, and NB, and non-binary, and gender expansive beings and people to come across record of how